happened and why. I'm glad that our team was able to put it together in just one day soon after this violence, speaking to key players on the ground to get a sense of why this communal flare-up happened. Before that, here's a look at the headlines today. Fresh violence erupts in Gurugram. Shops vandalized and set ablaze. Schools and colleges in Gurugram to stay open tomorrow. Home Minister Amit Shah tables the Delhi Ordnance Bill in the Lok Sabha amid massive uproar. Congress and TMC called the bill unconstitutional. BJD and the YSRCP backed the centre. PM Modi and Sharad Pawar share a stage in Pune as the Prime Minister is honoured with the Lokmanya Tilak Award. Congress hits the streets in protest. Lok Sabha to debate the no confidence motion against the Modi government from the 8th to the 10th of August. Prime Minister to reply in Parliament on the last day. Chandrayaan-3 leaves Earth's orbit and heads to the moon. Chandrayaan to enter the moon's orbit on the 5th of August. Despite prohibitory orders and a shutdown of the internet, fresh violence erupted in Gurugram this evening. Tension simmers in Haryana a day after communal clashes. The trigger was a Shobha Yatra carried out by the Vishva Hindu Parishad and the Bajrang Dal in a place called Nuh, a minority-dominated district. How did the situation on the ground spiral out of control? Where were the cops? India Today sent its team of investigators from the Special Investigation Team to Ground Zero in Mewat. So we've got the Special Investigation from Nitin Jain and Muhammad Hizbullah from the India Today SIT, which attempts to unmask the villains of Haryana.
A battleground of flames. Just a short drive from the national capital. Pitched battles between two communities rocked Nuh in Haryana's Mewat region on Monday, reaching even the tech hub of Gurugram. An India Today investigation has delved into the causes behind this destructive frenzy. Our probe reveals how forewarnings about possible communal flare-ups were ignored. This is Vishwajit, the district inspector of the CID. Vishwajit is responsible for intelligence gathering across Nuh. When our investigative team met him in his office, Vishwajit claimed to have formally warned the local authorities about potential trouble during the VHP Yatra. His department's specific warnings about the VHP's annual 130 kilometers Braj Mandal Yatra passing through Muslim-dominated Nuh in the present circumstances ignored.
कल वाले जो रैली को लेकर कोई स्पेसिफिक इनपुट था आप लोगों की तरफ से?
स्पेसिफिक इनपुट था, भाई ये लोग यात्रा निकालेंगे तो इनका कौन होगा कहीं कहीं।
अच्छा, ये था।
अगर ये निकलेंगे गांव के बीच से, एक तलवार ले आएंगे, घुसा ले आएंगे।
तो क्या ये पहले से इनपुट आप लोगों ने नहीं दिया?
सरकार को सब दे चुकी है।
कितने दिन?
आपको पता है टाइम हफ्ता 10 दिन पहले ही
तो हफ्ता 10 दिन पहले दे दिया।
You heard that Nuh's CID gave its assessment of potential trouble during the VHP Yatra planned at Nuh on Monday. The district's CID inspector claimed the intel inputs he shared were not acted upon by law enforcement. A notorious cow vigilante linked to the Bajrang Dal, Monu Manesar, had earlier issued video messages about him participating in the Yatra. Police did not let him attend the event on Monday. In March, India Today exposed widespread extortion rackets of Gaurakshaks in Haryana. According to Nuh's CID chief, the activities of Gaurakshak squads had already infuriated residents of Nuh. Monu Manesar, the notorious cow vigilante, was named in the FIR in connection with the killing of two men, Junaid and Nasir, from Rajasthan's Bharatpur. Their bodies found charred in a burnt vehicle in Haryana's Bhiwani district on Feb 16th. Nuh's CID chief shared his assessment that the pent-up anger over the killings could burst forth. And then came a rumor about Monu Manesar's presence, which acted as a trigger.
तो वहाँ ब्रीफ करने में उनको हैंडल करने में जो शुरुआती दौर में 60-70 जो भी हुए वो कहीं न कहीं अधिकारियों ने सोचा भाई चलो ये मान जाएंगे खदेड़ देंगे उसमें ये नॉर्मल ये ले लिया उनको। हाँ फिर मोनू से नहीं आया समझा देंगे यार वो आ भी नहीं रहा था लेकिन वो मानने वाले कहाँ थे वो मोर्चा में और फोन कर दिया वो कर दिया भाई किसी ने अफवाह फैला दी वो आ लिया मंदिर पर और यात्रा चलने वाली है। अच्छा तो हम यात्रा रोकेंगे उनका मकसद उस रास्ते को ब्लॉक करना था। अच्छा जो मोड़ है जिससे जानी थी।
कितने टाइम लगा था बिल्डअप होने में चीज़ों को मतलब कल
बिल्कुल लग गया था 1 घंटे का तो मोर्चा में और फोन कर दिया वो कर दिया।
कौन
ये यहाँ के लोकल है ना। अच्छा और वो बच्चे लगभग 17 साल से 21-22 साल की एज ग्रुप के थे। अच्छा उनमें बड़ा मैच्योर था नहीं।
Rioters rammed a bus into a cyber police station in Nuh, now an infamous hub of cybercrime in the country. The district's intelligence chief reckons that the ongoing crackdown on cyber criminals, in addition to activities of the cow vigilantes, had already fueled passions in Nuh.
लॉटरी का काम लेना सब जोलन था वो हरियाणा के लोगों ने किया गोरक्षों ने किया नहीं। दूसरा एक साइबर फ्रॉड का बड़ा सर्च अभियान चला था उसमें काफ़ी लोग ये दिक्कत आ रही है कि वो कृषि पर प्रतिबंध में से दुखी हैं। अच्छा तो हमारे घरों पर रेड करी पहले खुले चलते थे कई चीज़ों से हो लेते तो ये सोचते कि इसी बात को हम करके ऐसा करें कि आवागमन बंद कर दें दबाव बढ़ जाए नहीं।
Kishan Kumar, the SHO of the police station under whose jurisdiction the unrest unfolded. When probed, he claimed he received no intel from his superiors about any potential trouble from the yatra.
मतलब 100 भी पूरे नहीं थे और इतना बड़ा प्रोसेशन निकल रहा है इतना बड़ा इंतजाम होना चाहिए था। CID वालों ने कोई पेपर चिट्ठी पत्री तो भेजी होगी आप लोग? मेरे पास कोई आपके पास पत्र चिट्ठी नहीं है। कोई ये भी तो आया होगा कि भाई इतने लोग इकट्ठे हो सकते हैं आप लोगों का ये आपका इंतजाम कोई इंतजाम के बारे में मेरे लेवल पर कोई बात नहीं आपके लेवल पर इंतजाम का भी नहीं बताया ना। अगर ये होता भाई इतना पता लग जाता है ये ऐसा हो जाएगा तो यात्रा नहीं रुक जाती यात्रा पूरी इमरजेंसी क्या कोई होती तो ऊपर लेवल पे अपने तो बोले भाई अपने सेम थोड़ा ध्यान रखना वो कोई सब कर।
You heard Nuh Sadar's SHO admitting that police at his level received no warnings beforehand. In a separate conversation with our investigative team, Kishan Kumar explained how the available force was spread too thin across the yatra route.
लेकिन कल पुलिस बंदोबस्त इतनी कम थी
ऐसा पुलिस कम नहीं थी जो फोर्स थी ना वो सारी लगी हुई थी। इनसे पहले जो हरियाणा था बंगाल और जाना था तो इससे सीधा खजाना वापस जाना था नवी ना पुनः कुछ पूरा तो कवर कराना था लंबाई बढ़ गई यात्रा लंबी बढ़ गई फोर्स तो वही थी वो एक्स्ट्रा फोर्स थे नहीं वो फोर्स 10 पॉइंट बढ़ने 50 पॉइंट बढ़ने के बाद 200 पॉइंट बढ़ गई ऐसे
Scars of yet another devastating turmoil. A grim reminder of how intel oversight, inadequate law enforcement, social media manipulation can converge into a storm of violence. A report by Mohammad Hizbullah and Nitin Jain for India Today's Special Investigation Team.
For reactions on this big India Today investigation, we're joined by some key players in Haryana politics. I want to welcome Bhupender Singh Hooda, the former Chief Minister of the state of Haryana. With us also is Yogendra Yadav, leader, founder of Swaraj India. He comes from the belt of Nuh and Mewat, representing the Bharatiya Janata Party, is its spokesperson from the Haryana BJP, Raman Malik. We've got Vikram Singh, former Director General of Police in Uttar Pradesh, well-known police officer. Sriraj Nair is a spokesperson of the Vishva Hindu Parishad. Remember, the VHP and the Bajrang Dal are the ones who took out this yatra. And we've got Randeep Singh Surjewala, senior leader of the Congress, who I want to go across to first on this investigation, which shows that the local administration and the police had been forewarned. There was this yatra passing through communally sensitive areas, that security needed to be beefed up, and yet for some inexplicable reason, the inputs which were available were not acted on. People with weapons, sticks, throwing stones were allowed to take out this yatra, and mayhem broke out in Mewat. As someone who comes from the state, what do you think really went wrong, Mr. Surjewala?
I have been repeatedly saying that the violence in Nuh Manesar and Gurgaon is actually state manufactured. It is failure of political leadership of Chief Minister Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar. Three things stand out. Number one, there was a LIU report, that is intelligence report, saying such an incident is bound to happen. Number two, the infamous goon Monu Manesar was a part thereof. Any sensible government would have either arrested him in anticipation of violence or at least would not have permitted him to participate here. Number three, the superintendent of police of Nuh was on leave. When you knew such a sensitive thing was happening, you had a report that violence will take place, you did not even call the rapid action force, which is situated only 2 kilometers away. That means, in order to gain political mileage, the BJP, JJP government was actually permitting this violence to happen. And Rahulji, may I point out to you, we know that over 100 people died in the Arakshan agitation when the caste war happened in Haryana under the watch of Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar. He turned out to be a political beneficiary of the same in the last assembly election. Now, for the first time in 75 years history of India, a communal flare-up is happening in Haryana, something that is alien to Haryana. We are peace living, we have cohabitated with the Mewat people. There have never been any clashes. In fact, in the pre-partition day, Haryana portion was the only portion of India when, despite there being overwhelming Muslim population, there was never a communal clash. So this is a communal clash that is manufactured for political gain. It's a serious allegation I'm leveling.
Amongst the things that come out in this India Today investigation is that the cyber police station was vandalized, which comes across as being odd, that that's the one police station that gets targeted. The government's defense is that because they've been carrying out a lot of action against the local cyber thieves, because Nuh Mewat, as our viewers would recall, is emerging as a Jamtara 2.0, and the India Today network has reported extensively on that. It is because of this that these local groups of thugs were involved. So it's not Hindu, Muslim. The government claims in its defense that this is really the cyber mafia trying to push back, which is why a cyber police station has been attacked. How do you look at this, Mr. Surjewala?
I think it's a lame duck excuse. There was a time when Mewat was a ghetto. The Congress government in Haryana had changed that when we ensured intermixing of population, and that's how you see the Sona Road in Gurgaon, an area which was overwhelmingly populated by Muslim, is no longer so. So the intermixing and creation of IMT, Industrial Model Township at Mewat, has actually changed the picture, where a lot of intermixing of populations happened and a lot of progress happened. There can be criminals anywhere around Delhi, because Delhi and its surrounding areas will always be. Same thing is happening in Noida, that is not called so. Same things happen in Ghaziabad, they are not called so. And we also have a Jewar International Airport, all around that same things happen. Question is, there is a failure of law and order, and these are lame duck excuses now being said. What Mr. Khattar and Dushyant Chautala are not understanding, that Gurgaon is not a township alone or a big town alone. It's a millennium city and is home to every corporate, international corporate and national corporate in the country. Every corporate's office is here, and that's how the state of Haryana generates most of its revenue. If you are going to have riots on Sohna Road in Gurgaon, vehicles are going to be torched, the whole investment atmosphere is also going to be tarnished, besides the reputation of the state as a peaceful investment destination. So I think what Mr. Khattar has done by his failure of political leadership, as also by closing his eyes to this entire fomenting of communal trouble, is irreparably harmed the reputation of Haryana, which will take years to rebuild.
Let me go across to Raman Malik of the Bharatiya Janata Party to get a counter from him on what we are hearing from the Congress leader. Because how is it that Monu Manesar and his ilk put out videos announcing this rally? So it's not off the spur, sudden mobilization. This is planned. In our investigation, it emerges from the local CID. They claim they informed the local police and administration 8-10 days ago. The video came out a couple of days ago, and yet your government was so inept that you couldn't stop this. You didn't have adequate deployment on the ground. The rapid action force wasn't deployed. It just presents the state of Haryana and the Khattar government in very sorry light.
Rahul, I'm very sorry to hear what Mr. Surjewala has said. I'm very sure he's now an alien to Haryana. Reason being that he's already migrated to Rajasthan to become an MP. But he's also failed as an MP to secure a position as an MLA twice here. So he does not know the correct situation. The correct situation has to be understood like this, that this so-called Monu Manesar shield that the Congress is taking and the others whom they are trying to protect is taking did not have to be in that one. Number two, the most important, neither was Monu Manesar. If Monu Manesar was the reason, why were women attacked, why were children attacked, why were elderly attacked, why was the police station attacked, why were homes attacked, why were businesses attacked? Was there any reason? No. Then, the second most important point, an MLA of the area is supposed to be one who bridges the gap and creates an atmosphere. The local reports, and you can send your people over to this place and find out what was the kind of role played by Memon Khan or Aftab, whether they were secular in nature to give support or whether they were communal in the manner which has been talked about by the entire population. The third point, sir, Memon Khan in the assembly of Haryana had categorically threatened and not just threatened about
No,
this
but what
kind
you're
of an
saying,
episode.
Raman Malik, doesn't sound convincing for the simple reason that this is a law and order situation.
Rahulji,
Regardless of who takes law and order into their hands, your
Let me
system
just
should have
finish,
come down on him. Hindu or Muslim, how does it matter? If he's breaking the
I'll
law,
tell you how
come
this
down on
matters.
him.
Please let me finish, Rahulji. And the person he was referring to at that time in a derogatory manner was a Dalit MLA from BJP. Now, let's come to the basic issue. Now, you say that Monu Manesar happens to be the reason why this all happened.
No, I'm not saying that.
my
I'm saying the Vishva Hindu Parishad and the Bajrang Dal planned this yatra. A man accused of being involved in murder was involved in this yatra. They took it
That
out.
is what-
Your government
that
slept
is
on the
what
job.
the
That's what I'm
MLAs,
saying.
the
You didn't
Muslim
do your job
community has
properly.
said. That is what Surjewala ji said. That is what the Muslim communities are saying. That is what. But let's not forget this is the same party where Kamalnath says this is a Muslim party. Rahul Gandhi says that
Forget
it is,
that.
Muslim
This is
League
nothing
is
to
a
do with
secular
Hindu-Muslim.
party.
It's a law and order situation. Your government should have
Yes,
done
it
the
is.
job.
But they
You
are
should have
not
bashed
doing
up
it.
whoever was trying to break the law. You should have arrested them, detained them, taken them into preventive custody. Why did you do that?
Rahul, let the investigations happen, let the facts come out. Whoever is responsible, the acquisition and the Kurki would happen, the bulldozers would happen, everything would happen, irrespective of.
That's not
what
the point,
place
sir.
you
That's
come
post
from.
facto. In 8 to 10, according to this India Today investigation, according to your local CID official, 8 to 10 days before this mobilization, you knew
So
that such a
means
yatra was being
Haryana was
planned.
planning
This
it.
was passing from a
The
communally
same thing
sensitive
which
area,
happened in
that this
Delhi.
could
The
potentially
same thing
turn
which happened
communally
now, a
strifeful.
week back in
Why
Delhi.
did you not prepare for that? That's my question.
Rahul, Delhi riots just after the COVID thing, and then this last week in the procession of Muharram and other things, the same pattern happens. Why is it always the same pattern that happens? And the same people come to protect it.
Who's protecting it? What conspiracy are you talking about? You are in power. It's your job to enforce the law. Why did you not do that?
We will
Why was
enforce
the
the
rapid
law.
action force not deployed?
We
Why
will
was there
enforce
not
the
enough
law. The
police
CRPF
personnel on
is
the
there.
ground?
Everything is
Why are
under
people
control.
roaming around Haryana with guns? What's your answer to that, sir?
Rahul, you should remember this Mewat area, the so-called claiming by Surjewala ji, he's forgotten that these people, when under Mr. Huda's leadership, when they were running the government, this was a kala pani for officers. It is after Manohar Lal ji who came into power that this area started improving. Otherwise, they used to say, isne Mewat bhej de. That was the dialect.
No, but
We
which
have
is why
improved
you
the
got a
situation,
chance
not
to
Mr.
come to
Surjewala,
power.
Mr.
You can't
Huda.
now blame what happened during Huda Saab's time. Let me go across to Bhupender Huda, former Chief Minister of the state of Haryana, the senior most Congress leader on the ground, leader of the opposition. Huda Saab, welcome. आपके विचार में मेवात नूह गुरुग्राम में जो हुआ उसके लिए आप किसको जिम्मेदार मानते हैं? Where do you think the whole system collapsed? Huda Saab.
देखिए, ये एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव फेलियर है, गवर्नमेंट का फेलियर है, क्योंकि कब ऐसी परिस्थिति होती है, दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण हुआ जो नहीं होना चाहिए था, और जब ऐसी कोई अंदेशा होता है तो सरकार पूरी तैयारी करती है, प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स लेते हैं। कोई ऐसा कोई कदम नहीं लिया सरकार ने। दुर्घटना घटने के बाद जो है फोर्स भेजी है, सेंट्रल फोर्सेस भी आई हैं और वहाँ किया है। तो ये एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव फेलियर मैं इसको कहूँगा, और लोगों से अपील करूँगा कि वो शांति बनाएं, कानून व्यवस्था को कायम रखने में मदद दें और भाईचारा कायम रखें। यही मैं उनसे कहूँगा।
खट्टर साहब की सरकार ये कहती है कि ये सारा कंस्पिरेसी है, इसमें कांग्रेस के कुछ एमएलएज भी इन्वॉल्व थे जिन्होंने आग में घी डालने का काम किया। उनका मानना है कि क्योंकि उन्होंने साइबर क्राइम के खिलाफ एक ऑफेंसिव एक्शन किया है, इस वजह से साइबर पुलिस स्टेशन को डिस्ट्रॉय किया गया। बेसिकली वो कह रहे हैं कि इसमें कंस्पिरेसी एंगल की जांच हो रही है। इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
देखिए, अगर वो ये कह रहे हैं तो उनको प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स तो लेने चाहिए थे। खाली होमगार्ड के भरोसे छोड़ दिया। वहाँ पुलिस का इतनी पुलिस है हरियाणा को, उनको अगर मान लो मैं कोई जुलूस निकालता था जब भी विपक्ष में था, तो पुलिस साथ चलती है। तो ये कदम उठा सकते हैं, प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स लेने पड़ते हैं, और ये नहीं लिए गए, ये फेलियर है।
आप अगर सीएम होते तो क्या करना चाहिए था? कहां पे चूक हुई, क्या नहीं किया खट्टर साहब ने आपके विचार में? हुडा साहब,
देखिए, जैसा ये बताया इन्होंने, ये अंदेशा था, ये था, तो उसी हिसाब से तैयारी करनी चाहिए थी। जो भी जुलूस निकला या प्रोसेशन निकला, उसको पूरी पुलिस की प्रोटेक्शन होनी चाहिए थी। वहाँ पुलिस का पूरा इंतजाम होना चाहिए था, ताकि कोई आपस में ऐसा कोई ना कर सके जहाँ अंदेशा होता है। ये कदम उठाने की जरूरत थी,
Raman Malik,
जो अब उठाए हैं कदम।
Okay. Thank you very much, Huda Saab, for joining us. This is an important point that the former Chief Minister makes, Raman Malik, that even if you think that this is a conspiracy, that doesn't take away the fact that you only had the home guard deployed, that you didn't deploy the police personnel, the armed police personnel on the ground who could have prevented. It's almost as if you wanted for something like this to happen, because then it becomes Hindu-Muslim, then the questions are not around job losses, economy, industry, inflation. It becomes Hindu-Muslim, everybody is polarized and you benefit electorally from it.
Rahul, first of all, this is a false statement that only home guards were there. There were police personnel. There were the same number of police personnel that were given a year before and the year before and the year before. So that is one part of it. The second part of it is, if you want to talk about conspiracy theories and other things, the journal assessment of people in Mewat who have been affected by this, especially those who are captured in the temple and in their homes and in other places, is very clear that Nuh was designed to become the Godhra, and then for 2024 this entire thing would be played the same way as the witch hunt that happened for 12 years with Mr. Modi. The same kind of witch hunt would keep happening and the nation would win. The progress of India cannot be tolerated by people who have been supported by...
Sir, your government is in power. All of what you're saying is hollow because you didn't do your job. You could have prevented if you didn't want violence. Sir, there's only home guard over there. The protesters have guns. They have sticks. They're throwing stones. Your police is not on the ground.
There were armed police personnel.
Let me go across to Anmol Bali. Anmol Bali is our correspondent. This young man was in Nuh at the time this violence was taking place. So those visuals which are playing on my screen right now, the ones that have gone viral all across social media, were shot by Anmol, who yesterday was chased by the mob. He had to take refuge in a police station because there were people outside stopping him. You've seen those clips as well. They're saying, "Band karo, camera." So Anmol actually did a great job continuing to shoot through all of that. So Anmol, the Haryana BJP leader says there were armed police personnel, that there was enough deployment on the ground. You were on the ground. Did you see adequate deployment of police personnel? How many police personnel were there? Were they at all armed?
Rahul, around 2 when the stone pelting started, I was there on the main medical chowk where the stone pelting started in between the two communities. As the BJP leader has claimed that there was full deployment of police, that was not on the ground. There were only 2 gypsies for around 1,000 to 1,500 people from both the communities. Those who have gone maverick, they were having stones, they were having axes, sticks in their hand, even guns were also seen. 5 to 6 air shots took place, but police was no there. There were only 2 gypsies which I have shown on the live television. Those 2 gypsies have also ran from the spot. There were around 1 dozen of policemen, police constables, but when the stone pelting started, they also ran away from the spot, and around after 3 to 4 hours, the police came, the police deployment and the paramilitary came, then the calm started in this town.
So what was happening in those 2 or 3 hours when these 2 gypsies went away? Raman Malik, please listen to what Anmol is saying. What happened in those 3 or 4 hours when these gypsies ran away from there?
Stone pelting was taking place from the both sides, from one side from the Hindutva groups and from the other side from the local people. And for the 3 hours there was no rule, law and order. The situation was so bad that people, those who were locals, have scared and they moved into their homes. I was in a shop. I took refuge in a shop, and what I saw from the terrace was terrible. The stone pelting was taking place. People were having sticks, axes, rods in their hand. They were beating each other. Even air fire also took place, Rahul.
Raman Malik, respond to this. This is our correspondent. He was on the ground capturing all of this on the camera. You had 2 gypsies for 1,500 protesters when you knew that the situation could get incendiary.
I do not accept that, because with this kind of a movement, even last year, there were over 100 people deployed. Now, where all were they? What was the traffic arrangement? What was those things? How and what was placed has to be looked into. I fully say that with full responsibility. I say that, but at the same time, we must understand when the kind of mob that had accumulated and that came forward to people, these people, the reaction that they did would be investigated later. But the point is that as per what was last year, the same number of police personnel were deployed, Rahul. And that's very honestly I'm saying. But how and what happened, is a time when the investigation happens.
Okay,
Right
let me
now,
put that
it is
question
more
to Vikram
important
Singh,
to
who's been
curtail
former
the
Director
situation.
General
It
of
is right
Police
now to
in
control
a
the
state as
situation.
big and complex as Uttar Pradesh. Raman Malik says last year we deployed the same number of policemen. This year also we deployed the same number of policemen, and therefore hum jo kar sakte the humne kiya. Do you buy that, or do you think that this is an epic lapse of security, a big mistake in terms of the law and order situation in the manner in which it was handled?
Rahulji, good evening. I would say that it is an epic flaw on the part of the police arrangements. And so to say, I did not get any intelligence input. Every police station in the country has what is known as a Tyohar register, festival register, Sampradayak Gunda register, Sampradayak Sutna register, and the police station is equipped to handle all such situations. And the very fact that you had home guards lining up the road, it was not a matter to be relegated to home guards. RAF and commandos and the paramilitary forces should have run. There is advanced intelligence. I'm sitting in Noida. I know fully well that Nuh is extremely sensitive and one of the hot spots, not in Haryana, but in the country, because it is also the hub and epicenter of cyber crime. Also, because of the ban on cow slaughter, there the tension is imminent and the straws were in the wind. What preemptive action has been taken? Mr. Raman Malik is my good friend. My advice would be, before any such agitation, please take pains to make preventive arrests, ensure 151 arrests, recovery of firearms, legal and illegal, confiscation of all explosives, search house to house on the rooftops, and this was perfectly doable. Rahulji, it is not rocket science. We have done this. Even a Chowki in charge intelligence, some inspector could have done it. And so to say, I did not get advanced intelligence. This is totally unacceptable. You are designed and programmed to work independently. And the very fact that you say that I didn't got the intelligence, the fact of the matter is, the basic ground reality is that you're sitting there. The deployment of the paramilitary force, first preventive arrest, rehearsal, peace committees, community outreach, there is so much of homework that is done before any such agitation. And yes, Manu Manesar is a persona non grata.
No, but he hasn't been arrested. I was speaking
gang
to somebody who told me he runs around, floats around Manesar just on a common basis after being accused of that horrific case in Rajasthan. Action should have been taken against him. He's roaming around Raman Malik in Manesar.
You should not have been freighted by police officers.
The first, let's say, Rahul, the first report that came in, he was accused. Then in the charge sheet, his name was taken off. Later on, again, there were some alterations done. But the point is that the case is in Rajasthan, and the Rajasthan police has to come forward with whatever they want to do.
No, when he issued a video saying, "Oh, wow, look at how he's speaking in that video," why didn't you take him into preventive custody?
There are a lot of other people talking, Rahul.
Sir, why didn't you take him into preventive custody?
Okay, Rahul, what are you going to say about people when they line up cylinders in the center of the road stating कि जो आएगा हम फाड़ देंगे, दूसरा CIA आए या कोई भी आपके गांव में आए, आपको कोई जरूरत नहीं है, आप उनके लाते तोड़ दें, हाथ तोड़ दें. This is the kind of statements being given by
Sriraj Nair from the Vishva Hindu Parishad. This is a Vishwa Hindu Parishad Bajrang Dal Yatra. Why in the world would you associate with the likes of Monu Manesar? The man is accused of heinous crimes. Your organization, which commands a strong following, should be disassociating from such criminals rather than glorifying them.
Well, Rahul, first of all, let me tell you the yatra, the Shobha Yatra, which took place in Mewat was with full permission, and we are just beating around the bush. The real concern is the Mewat has become a mini Pakistan. It has become a terror breeding ground, and that's what we have seen. And here, the Congress spokesperson, Congress leader, Mr. Huda and Randeep ji, they are beating around the bush, and they are not ready to confess that this jihadi elements have been attacking these yatras for years together, and this has become a global pattern. And this is not only happening in India. Stone pelting, rioting, hooliganism is a part of a global Islamic terror network, and that's what is happening in Mewat. Now coming back to Monu Manesar, he is just an accused. And as Mr. Raman Malik rightly said, if there is a strong case again, like Congress has been trapping Hindus, left, right, and center without any kind of proof. So if there is any concrete proof, Rajasthan police should come forward and talk to Haryana police and do the needful. But here, why are we not talking about the Islamic terror elements who have been attacking small kids, women and elderly persons. What wrong they did? So we are not getting into the core area of concern. It is the appeasement politics by the Congress and so-called secular party is encouraging this kind of terror elements that we have to understand. So the yatra had all the necessary permissions. We also understand and we also believe.
No, why were your yatris roaming around with guns? No, one second, Sriraj Nair, if this is a simple protest, why do those people, as is captured in Bali's story, why do they have automatic weapons with them? Why are they carrying stones with them? Why are they carrying sticks with them?
Mewat pattern now.
You're not even listening. Sriraj Nair, if this is a simple protest, why do these protesters have guns with them? Why are they opening fire? Why are they throwing stones? It's all captured on my camera. Sriraj Nair, if this is a simple protest, why do your protesters have guns, swords with them? Why are they throwing stones? Why are they brandishing sticks?
See, who is throwing it is not from the VHP side or the Hindus.
Sir, the images are on the screen. They are speaking for themselves. Look at what's playing on the screen.
Who were at the receiving end? Who was throwing? You see the footage.
I'm seeing the footage. I'm talking to you after seeing the footage. All of India is watching the footage.
It is an organized attack. Please, there was nothing from the Hindu side. They were all peaceful.
So what you're saying doesn't square with the images, swords, guns carried by the people who are passing through this yatra. That is what is caught on camera. You can't run away from the reality. Look at what's on the screen right now. I want to go across to Yogendra Yadav.
Let the investigation happen. We are also saying.
Yeah, but will it be an honest investigation? The Vishva Hindu Parishad and the Bajrang Dal are so closely associated with the ruling government. Will there be an honest investigation? The guns, the swords, the sticks, they're all on camera. The images are speaking a million words, all of them together. Only if you are reading the writing on the wall, except if you pretend that you're not reading, then I can't tell you anything because you're not looking at what's happening. Yogendra Yadav, you are on the ground, you belong to this area, you've gone and spoken to people. What have you found out? The India Today investigation seems to suggest that at least 8 to 10 days before this yatra came, the LIU, the CID told the state administration and the police that there would be a build-up, that there may be violence, and yet we find that there was very limited police deployed on the ground. Yogendra Yadav.
Rahul, I don't know about your investigation, but I'm not surprised at all by what you are telling me, because I can add two more things to it. Number one, this yatra, which is only a 3-year-old tradition, the year before last, this very yatra had seen a major communal situation in which a mazar was broken. Fortunately, things were brought under control. So, police and administration have good reasons to believe that this is a very sensitive issue. Number two, on the 27th of July, there was a peace committee meeting in Nuh where our colleagues had informed, my colleague is standing with me, he had informed the police and administration about the videos, about counter videos, about the fact that this is extremely tense situation and that they should reconsider giving permission. So despite all this, not only was the permission given to carry out the yatra, but people actually carried arms, as India Today footage has also shown. Not just that, there was no sufficient law and order preparation when the pelting started. So I'm not surprised by what you are saying. Either it is a case of criminal negligence, or worse, that someone knew that this would happen and wanted it to happen so that the spark from Mewat can be used to ignite the rest of NCR.
I just spoke to Randeep Surjewala, who seems to suggest that this is being done so that the BJP benefits electorally, that the elections become Hindu versus Muslim. Muslims are only 7% of the population, and therefore he believes that it will be to the advantage of the BJP government, or at least that's the way they're trying to position it. As if you put on your analyst hat for a moment, how does this play out electorally?
Rahul, as a citizen of this place, as a neighbor of Mewat, and as someone who has worked for 22 years in this area, I cannot pretend only to be an analyst. I'm extremely concerned. I'm concerned about the image that Mewat would have. I'm concerned about the image that Haryana would have. I'm concerned that by deliberately stoking communal fire here, someone is trying to create a political career. Someone is trying to use this divide. Haryana government has in the past used the Jat versus non-Jat divide, and there is every apprehension that this particular situation is being used in order to polarize, in order to make sure that the political capital that Haryana BJP lost due to the farmers' agitation can be gained by making it Hindu-Muslim. So I must say, I'm very depressed. I must say, I'm very concerned.
Let's spend a moment on the cow vigilante angle. I find it very disturbing that Monu Manesar puts out these videos urging people to come, that he's a man who's accused of being part of a brutal killing in Rajasthan. He's roaming free. Apparently, he's just floating around. People can see him locally, and yet he isn't acted against, even after he puts out a video where he's saying, come, we'll go. He's very incendiary in the way that he's calling people together and asking them to mobilize.
This really is the question, Rahul. And I am just coming out of a meeting with the Superintendent of Police and the DC, who heard us patiently. And we placed the following demands. First of all, do arrest those who are responsible for stone pelting, but after identification. Number two, the Supreme Court judgment makes it absolutely clear that hate speech of this kind must not be tolerated. And these are not the only two videos, Rahul. This area has seen, you would remember there was a Mahapanchayat in Indri, in this area, where provocative speeches of the worst kinds were given, where people said, we will burn police stations, and so on. No action has been taken. So yes, hate speech is an issue, and yes, Monu Manesar, who is no leader. I mean, no one, I know Manesar. This is my area. No one knows these people, and the impression that I'm told, that I get from everyone speaking to me, is that these are petty criminals. These are petty criminals who are currently hiding their crime under the name of cow. And these are people who have been, Monu Manesar is accused in murder. He is facing so many trials. And police says he's absconding. My friend from Manesar, who's with me today, he says, no, but I get to see him almost every second day. So here is someone who's absconding and who my friend gets to see every day. Police obviously doesn't get to see him. What kind of law and order are we talking about? This is obnoxious. If this cannot be controlled, all the wonderful things that we get to hear from the Supreme Court come to a naught.
Yogender Yadav, thank you very much for joining us. I don't want to hold you in a very poor signal zone, and that's also one of the realities of Nuh. It's so close to the NCR, and yet it's so backward in so many ways in terms of being an area infested with criminals. And that's one of the problems that are playing themselves out. I want to go to Randeep Surjewala on the issue of Monu Manesar, the fact that he's charged in Rajasthan. We just heard from the BJP, they're saying Rajasthan police should come, give evidence, act against Monu Manesar. That hasn't happened. The fact also is that he's able to put out these videos, issue threats. There's a claim made by local eyewitnesses that he was there. The police, however, say nahi wo nahi tha, he wasn't there. But he's roaming around with a level of brazenness given the charges against him, which is simply unacceptable.
But let me say with a sense of responsibility and confidence both, Monu Manesar has active protection of BJP, JJP government in Haryana. And Monu Manesar is not the only goon. I can give you separately for a separate debate list of half dozen goons who are absconding but put up their pictures with deadly firearms and weapons and send threats through social media for extorting money. Monu Manesar happens to be part of the same malady. Since he happens to be part of the communal polarization design, we all know what kind of a goon he is. India Today, Aaj Tak have done multiple such stories evidencing as to how he operates, and he operates under the shadow of the state, under the protection of the state. Such goons having active protection of the BJP, JJP government of Haryana is not only detrimental to the law and order, but detrimental to the peaceful, loving citizens of the state and our reputation as a progressive, peaceful state where people from all over the world, why all over the country, come and cohabitate and are welcomed.
Randeep Surjewala, thank you for joining us on an important day on a big story. One final word from Vikram Singh, former DGP Uttar Pradesh. What do you think, sir, needs to be done now? If you were DGP Haryana, what would be your order to your force today?
Rahul ji, FIRs are there, investigation, round up the top 100 criminals there.
No, but
There
we
are
just
45
heard
FIRs.
the VHP say कि हमारे बंदों के guns नहीं थी, weapons. We have images, hours of images playing even on our screen right now would show those people taking out the yatra, roaming around with guns, firing in the air. They're wearing these saffron bands, carrying swords, machetes and wielding them. And yet he's denying the naked truth that's visible to anyone who's not blind.
Rahul ji, 24 hours. Either we get them by tonight, by tomorrow morning. Each one spotted in the video carries a reward of 2 lakhs on his arrest. Proclaimed offenders. It is not that you administer Chavanprash in a riotous situation. You have to go in for the kill, invoke the provisions of the National Security Act, as also 332 IPC, 302, because 2 home guards have died and other civilians have died. And therefore, the harshest legal punishment, the raid should happen tonight, and all the perpetrators should either be accounted for before 6 a.m. or a reward of 2 lakhs on each one of the perpetrators.
I think you make an important point, and I want that to be the last word. You can't give these vandals Chavanprash. You know, the images are caught on camera. What happened is caught on camera in broad daylight. This is not some kind of riot or violence that happened in the dead of the night or their grainy CCTV images. Each one of their faces, I mean not each one, but many of their faces are caught on camera. If the police was serious, if the state administration is serious, they can act against them. The question is, are they serious? Or these are our boys and therefore let them be. That is the approach. If that's the approach, this case will never get fixed. If they are serious, what needs to be done is obvious as day. You can't be giving Chavanprash to vandals. I'm going to slip into a break. I want to thank our special investigation team. In virtually no time, they mobilized faster than the local police, faster than local administration, and were able to bring this compelling investigation together. We'll keep following up on what happens on the ground next. I'm slipping into a break. Coming up on the other side, 11 dead, nearly 27 missing, flash floods and landslides sweep Chinese cities. Details on the other side. In politics, everyone has an opinion, but I have the data. Whose stock is rising? Whose graph is falling? Track India's political stock exchange. Unmatched, unmissable data analytics. The only show on News TV where numbers do the talking. India's most credible poll tracker. The Political Stock Exchange with Rahul Kamal only on India Today.
In less than 2 months from now, the new iPhone 15 will be on sale across the world. While Business Today TV had reported on Friday about the price of its high-end models crossing the 2 lakh rupee mark for the first time, BTTV has got hold of more details about the much-anticipated Apple handset. It's likely to have the smallest bezel yet and could be rid of the infamous notch. Apart from the all-screen upgrade, the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus will also come packed with major camera improvements, and the traditional Lightning connector will give way to the faster USB-C. Tech Today's Danny De Cruz has more on all the new features expected. Danny, take it away.
The new Apple iPhones are coming soon. Most likely, they will be here by September. So a new report has leaked a lot of information about the iPhone 15 series. So let's start with the more affordable iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Plus models. The biggest change coming to these models is that Apple will finally do away with the notch. Both the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Plus will get the dynamic island, which was last seen in last year's Pro models. The cameras are getting a massive upgrade too, along with the performance. And yes, Gone are the days of Lightning port. All new iPhones will be getting the USB Type-C for the first time. Now on to the Pro models, in which Apple is replacing the shiny frame with titanium, so your new iPhones will be strong too. The displays will also be better because of thinner bezels, and Apple is giving the camera hardware a substantial boost. The performance alone will make the iPhone 15 Pro models a compelling upgrade. They will become the first smartphones to use a 3nm chipset. All these upgrades make the new iPhone 15 models a good upgrade, but you will also have to shell out more money. Some models may even cross the rupees 2 lakh price point in India.
All right, thanks for that, Danny.
Days of unusually heavy rains around China's capital Beijing have flooded houses, torn apart roads and left at least 11 people dead and 27 missing. More than 50,000 people in the city have been evacuated so far.
North of China is witnessing the wrath of the rain gods. Fierce rain and flooding that have pummeled Beijing since the weekend have killed at least 11 people and several are still missing. Major flooding has forced the evacuation of tens of thousands of people. The torrential rains have caused havoc in the city, with rivers overflowing and submerging various areas. The Yongting River in Beijing has been a significant source of flooding. As more videos emerge, a clearer picture of the extent of the damage is revealed. The flooding has hit several districts, disrupting train services and traffic. Military helicopters have been deployed to deliver emergency food supplies and ponchos to people stranded.
As you can see behind me, the traffic boards and trees were blown down and many trees have been inundated. Authorities have issued red alert, which is the highest of its kind for floodings and heavy rainfalls, and warning that the Dashi River in the region, which is just the river behind me, could continue to flood, and telling people to stay away from the rivers.
With heavy rains likely to persist through the week, flooding could worsen in northern regions around Beijing, Tianjin City and Hebei province. Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where I wrap up the news track tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here, goodbye, good night.
They worked hard for keeping their city clean, but never lost hope for striking it big. Now, Lady Luck has smiled on these 11 sanitation workers. Part of the Haritha Karma Sena in Kerala's Malappuram, the group has won the jackpot of rupees 10 crore bumper monsoon lottery. The 11 women had pooled in 250 rupees to buy the lottery ticket, which turned out to be the winning number. After paying taxes, each of them will get 63 lakh rupees.
ലോട്ടറിക്കാരൻ വന്ന് പാലക്കാട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് ഒരുത്തം വന്ന് ഞങ്ങളോട് ചോദിച്ച് പൈസ ഇല്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഓള് മേലേക്കാണ്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോയപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരോടും പൈസ വീതിച്ച് ലാസ്റ്റ് വന്നത് ഞങ്ങളടുത്തേക്ക് ഞങ്ങൾ 25 ഉറുപ്പ്യ ഇവിടെ ആകെ കൊടുത്തു അതിൽ 12.5 വെളും 12.5 ഞാനും അപ്പോൾ ഒന്നുകൊണ്ട് ഞങ്ങൾ രണ്ടാളും നടു മധ്യത്തിലാക്കി.
These lucky winners collect non-biodegradable waste from homes for a living. But now, they are all set to make a fresh start. Bureau Report, India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 41 and minimum 28 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 30 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 35 and minimum 26 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 28 and minimum 20 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 28 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 29 and minimum 22 degrees.
Apple iPhone 15 series will most likely launch in the month of September, but buyers may be in for a shock. The prices may go up substantially, especially for the Pro models. Barclays analyst Tim Long says iPhone 15 Pro will be $100 more expensive compared to the iPhone 14 Pro, and the Pro Max model will be a full $200 more expensive. He says the starting price of the normal Pro model will be around $1,100, whereas the Pro Max model will start at almost $1,300.
So in India, Danny, will the iPhone finally breach the 2 lakh rupee price point?
So let's do a little math here to understand that. The current most expensive iPhone in the country, which is the iPhone 14 Pro Max 1 TB model, sells for around rupees 1,89,900, which is roughly around $2,300. And at the same time, the model in US costs just $1,500 plus taxes. So if we just add $200 to the total price in India for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it comes down to $2,500, which is a whopping 2,05,000. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but the next generation iPhones could easily breach the 2 lakh mark.
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist.
Co-presented by JK Tyre Ranger Series, stay wild at heart. Co-powered by the new Kia Seltos, the badass reborn.
Co-powered by Sera, this is your space, play it your way.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination news. Newsmakers, talking points. The big talking point is coming from the spiraling hate that's seen communal violence in Gurugram and Nuh in Haryana, and also seen a tragic killing on a railway compartment. We'll tell you more on how to combat the hate wave. Also among our exclusive guests tonight, Asaduddin Owaisi, on why he's describing the massacre in the train as a terror attack. For all that and more, first, the 9 headlines at 9. Fresh violence now erupts in Haryana's Gurugram. Shops vandalized, set ablaze, schools and colleges to remain closed tomorrow in Gurugram. An imam
is killed near a mosque. Supreme Court pulls up Manipur police and summons DGP for next hearing, says complete breakdown of constitutional machinery in the strife-torn state. Top court calls Manipur police probe lethargic and tardy. Railway guard accused of killing 4 on board Jaipur-Mumbai train remanded to police custody until August 7th. AIMIM chief Owaisi calls the shooting a terror attack against Muslims. Home Minister Amit Shah tables the Delhi Ordnance Bill in Lok Sabha amidst massive uproar. Congress and TMC call the bill unconstitutional. BJD and YSRCP back the centre. Lok Sabha set to debate no confidence motion against the Modi government from August 8 to 10. Prime Minister will reply in Parliament on the last day. Prime Minister Modi, NCP Supremo Sharad Pawar share a stage in Pune as the Prime Minister is honoured with the Lokmanya Tilak Award. Congress hits the street in protest. Big win for Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar as Patna High Court upholds a caste survey. Caste census to now resume with immediate effect. Enforcement Directorate conducts raids at Hero Motorcorp Chairman Pawan Munjal's residence in connection with a money laundering probe case filed against Munjal under PMLA. Chandrayaan-3 leaves Earth's orbit and heads to the moon. Chandrayaan to enter moon's orbit on August 5th. But tonight I want to focus on what I'm calling the genie of hate. That's right, Nafrat. It's out of the bottle and it is sparking violence in different parts of the country. We've seen shocking instances in just the last 48 hours. 5 people killed in Nuh in the riots that followed stone pelting on a VHP Yatra on Monday. The communal fire that erupted in Nuh on Monday has now spread to Gurugram. Last night, an under construction mosque in Gurugram was targeted by unknown people and the local Maulana was shot dead. His aid is critical. Today, shops in the Millennium City were targeted, sparking fears of more violence. Yesterday, we witnessed another horrific hate crime. An RPF Jawan allegedly shot dead 4 people, including his superior officer and 3 Muslim passengers inside the train that was going from Jaipur to Mumbai. And this is being linked by some to a pure hate crime. So all you have is the genie of hate spreading Hindu-Muslim conflicts that are leaving innocent lives, unfortunately, being targeted. What can be done to combat the hate wave is our focus tonight. So is the genie of hate now sparking off another bout of communal violence? That's the question we are raising. My first guest is Asaduddin Owaisi, the AIMIM MP, joins me. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Owaisi. You have come out very strongly against what has happened in the railway compartment, the cold-blooded murder of 4 people, and then what's happened in Nuh Hindu-Muslim violence. Let's get it clear. You have called the railway compartment incident a terror attack. Have you jumped the gun? Because the FIR is very clear. It says there is no communal angle. At least no communal angle is specifically mentioned in the FIR. Should one be more cautious in the times in which we live before suggesting it is a communal crime?
The reason I have called it a terror attack is because this was a man who was in uniform, and he had first assassinated or murdered his superior AS officer who belonged to the tribal Meena community. Then he went into 3 different railway compartments and identified Muslims who were having beard or wearing a cap, and then shot them dead. In fact, there is a video still available wherein this man who he shot, who's cringing in pain, who's turning from right side to left side, subsequently he died. Unfortunately, he's from Hyderabad, a place called Bazar Ghat. So this man went around 3 compartments of the railways, identified Muslims with their attire or with their beard, and shot them dead. And in a video he says that इस देश में रहना है तो योगी, Modi और Thackeray. Now, unfortunately, the government of India wanted the Twitter to remove my tweet, and unfortunately, the Twitter had succumbed to the government pressure tactics, and that tweet of mine has been removed from. It cannot be seen in India.
No, that
So
is because again these are
And
very
I
sensitive.
believe
No,
that
Mr. Owaisi, that's because these are very sensitive issues. You know, this is clearly a killing that needs investigation. No one doubts about it. It could well be a hate crime. You could be right that it could be a hate crime. The only point is, in the times in which we live, one has to be a little cautious. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Rajdeep, whatever times we live in, we have to say the truth clearly and loudly without mincing words. I will reiterate again that it was a terror attack done by a person who was radicalized and who had become extremist because of the conducive atmosphere of radicalization and extremism that has been created by the ruling party in last 9 years. And that is why we see that this man has no fear. He's standing at a dead body with his licensed weapon, as if he has, the human corpse which is lying on his feet is like some sort of a trophy for him. And everyone in that compartment just sits quiet. So it is a deliberate terror attack. To call it a hate crime would be understatement. To call him a madman would be completely wrong. He was in his senses. And that is why first he assassinated his ASI from the tribal community and then went on to 3 different compartments and shot Muslims.
Mr. Owaisi, you know, I don't want to engage at one level in whataboutery. Every crime is dastardly. But let's be clear. You might recall last year, just over a year ago, 28 June 2022 in Udaipur, Kanhaiya Lal Teli, a Hindu tailor, was murdered by 2 Muslim assailants. Now, let's be very clear. Do you also see that as a terror attack, or will that be called a hate crime? Let's be clear. Whether what happens in Udaipur or what happened in the railway compartment, we have to unequivocally condemn it, Mr. Owaisi. Are we very clear? If someone makes Sar Tan Ke Juda slogans and threatens to kill people, unacceptable. Are we clear on that?
Well, people who had assassinated Kanhaiya Lal are terrorists. No 2 things about it. I have said this at that time also, I am saying it now. My question is that if Kanhaiya Lal was assassinated, was murdered in a brutal way, the Rajasthan Congress government had given 50 lakhs to Kanhaiya Lal's family. But that same empathy was not shown when Junaid and Nasir were also kidnapped by these so-called Gau Rakshaks, but they are terrorists. They kidnapped them, took them to Haryana and burned them to death. And you know what the great secular party Congress did? The Chief Minister gave them only 5 lakhs. Now this is the point over here, that even in death we do discrimination.
But let's be clear, whether there is cold-blooded killing in Bhiwani, which is the incident you just mentioned, whether it is what happened in Udaipur, or whether it is what happened in this train yesterday, we are very clear these are all acts of terror that must be condemned, right? We're clear on that. These are unacceptable. You will raise your voice you will raise your voice as strongly as you would whether the victim is a Hindu or a Muslim.
Well, Rajdeep, you know, when people indulge in terrorism, I would say that terrorism has become the new religion. And all these people, they camouflage their brutalness, they camouflage their animalistic behavior by giving it a religious color. And this is what we had seen, which was done by the RPF person who was radicalized, who became extreme in his views, and the same thing happened to, unfortunately, to Kanhaiya Lal also, and to Junaid and Nasir.
But do you believe that the genie of hate is out of the bottle, and controlling it is now going to be virtually impossible? And to some extent, not just the political class, we could even look at the media, all of whom seem to be aiding in this polarized atmosphere. We've seen what's happened in Haryana in Nuh. You've got a procession taking place, then you have a stone pelting, cars are set on fire, and people have died. Let's be very clear. When there are clashes, communal clashes taking place in Nuh, when you've got the incident in the train, all of which builds up to the fact that we are entering a very dangerous polarized world.
Well, Rajdeep, I am sorry to disappoint you that we have already entered into this domain of uncertainty, into domain of hate from last 9 years. It is the state which is actively promoting, which is the state which has created this conducive atmosphere of hatred for Muslims and Christians and Dalits. It is the state which helps these perpetrators, and it is the state which did not take any action against the hate speeches that emanated from the so-called Dharam Sansad. But for the Supreme Court intervention, no FIRs would have been even booked against them. Let me give an example of your home state of Maharashtra. 50 so-called love jihad public meetings were held in the presence of ministers of the Maharashtra ruling party. Everywhere it is happening, so it is not happening right now.
So when an
violence has to be condemned.
When an Akbaruddin Owaisi also is accused of hate speech, I hope that you will also take up the issue even against your own brother. Anyone who tries to play to identity politics eventually only helps in polarization, Mr. Owaisi. That is the reality. Let's get real about it.
Well, let me again correct you. Your facts are completely wrong. You should tell your team to do their homework properly. Mr. Akbaruddin Owaisi, after giving that speech, which he was subsequently exonerated by courts of law, did go to the prison despite being in immense pain, despite fainting 4 or 5 times in the jail, despite his life was a very risky position in the jail. For 45 days he was in jail. Now the courts have exonerated him. So don't compare Mr. Akbaruddin Owaisi's case with what is happening in these hate speeches which are we seeing in Maharashtra and in so-called Dharam Sansads. How many of them have gone to prison? How many of them have faced the music of the law? So I have to correct you. You are quoting wrong facts, and I have quoted you the true facts. The problem is
you're very clear. You're very clear. Anyone who under the law commits the crime of hate speech should be prosecuted and put in jail. The point I'm making is that we've reached a stage, Mr. Owaisi, where the only way you can control this genie of hate which is out of the bottle is by taking tough action on anyone who takes the law into the hands, whether it is someone who resorts to violence in Nuh or whether it is in that railway compartment. We have to be very clear now. Whether you are anyone who takes a life of an innocent in the name of religion will have to be given exemplary punishment.
Well, it is the selective implementation of the law. BJP can talk about uniformity, uniform civil code, but they do not want to impose the law uniformly. That is the main problem. The biggest work which the BJP can do is to implement rule of law. Why is the BJP eulogizing? Why is the BJP promoting this culture of Goli Maro? Why is BJP taking credit for someone shooting an ex-MP, a convicted ex-MP who was in handcuffs in the police custody? Who's celebrating all these incidents? Why is it that in Madhya Pradesh, a Muslim 3-story house was demolished by a bulldozer, and you know what happened? A band was played in front of his house while his 3-story building was being demolished. Who's promoting all this? It is the state. It is the BJP which is the ruling party. Now, if the state compromises and forgets rule of law, but wants to govern on the basis of rule by gun, then what will happen to the constitution? What will happen to the rule of law? What will happen to fairness? What will happen to propriety, reasonableness? It will all be finished.
So the larger point you're making is impunity is stemming, you believe, from a state that has become partisan. All these years we've been told of minority appeasement and the impact that has had on the majority. Today you're turning around and telling me it's about majority appeasement and a partisan state that is responsible in a way for a reaction from the minority. But let's be clear, action and reaction both have to be condemned.
Well, I am not talking about action and reaction. I am saying that the government of the day has no religion. The government of the day has to follow the rule of law, implement the rule of law. The government of the day cannot get blinded by their ideology. The government of the day must implement the constitution in toto. What we are seeing is that the government closes their eyes when if their own ideological creatures indulge in violence. That is the problem. Who has radicalized these people? How is it that they have become so much extreme in their views?
So there with due regard, there is radicalization within a section of Hindutva forces, there is radicalization within a section of Islamist forces. Let's be very clear about this today, that we have to condemn it all, unacceptable.
Rajdeep, do you know that in the Ministry of Home Affairs, there is a counter-radicalization department, and that counter-radicalization department only deals with Muslims and Islam, no other religion. There is no other monitoring of radicalization in the majority community. There is no other monitoring of radicalization among various so-called all these radical majoritarian groups which have emerged. Only counter. I have asked this question in Parliament. I have demanded, please have a counter-radicalization monitoring unit for every religion. Can the government of the day come out and say that they're doing it? No, they're not doing it.
Let's leave it there, Mr. Owaisi. I think what you pointed out, you've sort of given your viewpoint very strongly as ever to your belief that the state has turned partisan and therefore the state is partly responsible for spreading the genie of hate, as we are calling it. Appreciate your joining us, Asaduddin Owaisi, here on the show today.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Owaisi has set the stage in a way. That's one viewpoint. We are going to get many more viewpoints, but our focus, therefore, is on what's happening in Haryana. Because what we've seen in the last 48 hours is, despite prohibitory orders and internet shutdowns, fresh violence erupting in Gurugram, the millennial city this evening. Tension simmering in Haryana a day after communal clashes in Nuh. The trigger was a yatra carried out by the VHP Bajrang Dal through Nuh, a minority-dominated district. How did the situation spiral out so dangerously out of control? Where was the police? Here is an India Today investigation that brings you the villains of Haryana.
A battleground of flames. Just a short drive from the national capital. Pitched battles between two communities rocked Nuh in Haryana's Mewat region on Monday, reaching even the tech hub of Gurugram. An India Today investigation has delved into the causes behind this destructive frenzy. Our probe reveals how forewarnings about possible communal flare-ups were ignored. This is Vishwajit, the district inspector of the CID. Vishwajit is responsible for intelligence gathering across Nuh. When our investigative team met him in his office, Vishwajit claimed to have formally warned the local authorities about potential trouble during the VHP yatra.
कल वाले जो रैली को लेकर कोई स्पेसिफिक इनपुट था आप लोगों की तरफ से?
स्पेसिफिक इनपुट था, वही ये लोग यात्रा निकालेंगे तो इनका कानून होगा कहीं कहीं।
अच्छा, ये था।
अगर ये निकलेंगे गांव के बीच से, एक तलवार ले आएंगे, रिक्शा ले आएंगे।
तो क्या ये पहले से इनपुट आप लोगों ने नहीं दिया?
सरकार को सब दे चुके।
कितने दिन?
आपको पता ही टाइम हफ्ता 10 दिन पहले ही
तो हफ्ता 10 दिन पहले दे दिया।
You heard that Nuh's CID gave its assessment of potential trouble during the VHP Yatra planned at Nuh on Monday. The district's CID inspector claimed the intel inputs he shared were not acted upon by law enforcement. A notorious cow vigilante linked to the Bajrang Dal, Monu Manesar, had earlier issued video messages about him participating in the Yatra. Police did not let him attend the event on Monday. In March, India Today exposed widespread extortion rackets of Gaurakshaks in Haryana. According to Nuh's CID chief, the activities of Gaurakshak squads had already infuriated residents of Nuh.
तो वहाँ ब्रीफ करने में उनको हैंडल करने में जो शुरुआती दौर में 60-70 जो भी हुए, वहाँ कहीं न कहीं अधिकारियों ने सोचा भाई चलो ये मान जाएंगे, खदेड़ देंगे, उसमें ये नॉर्मल ये ले लिया उनको। हाँ, एक मन से नहीं आया, समझा देंगे यार, वो आ भी नहीं रहा था। लेकिन वो मानने वाले कहाँ थे? वो मोटरसाइकिल और फोन कर दिए, भाई किसी ने अफवाह फैला दी, वो आ लिया मंदिर पर। और यात्रा चलने वाली है। अच्छा। तो हम यात्रा को रोकेंगे, उनका मकसद उस रास्ते को रोक करना था।
अच्छा।
जो मोड़ है जिससे जानी थी।
कितने टाइम लगा था बिल्डअप होने में चीज़ों को? मतलब कल
बिल्कुल लगा था 1 घंटे का। तो मोटरसाइकिल और फोन कर दिए, वो कर दिए।
कौन?
ये जो यहाँ के लोकल है ना। अच्छा। और वो बच्चे लगभग 17 साल से 21-22 साल की एज ग्रुप के थे। अच्छा। उनमें बड़ा मैच्योर था नहीं।
Kishan Kumar, the SHO of the police station under whose jurisdiction the unrest unfolded. When probed, he claimed he received no intel from his superiors about any potential trouble from the yatra.
मतलब 100 भी पूरे नहीं थे। और इतना बड़ा प्रोसेशन नहीं कर रहा, इतना बड़ा इंतजाम होना चाहिए था। CID वालों ने कोई पेपर चिट्ठी पत्री तो भेजी होगी आप लोग?
CID मेरे पास
कोई आपके पास पत्र चिट्ठी नहीं है? कोई ये भी तो आया होगा कि भाई इतने लोग इकट्ठे हो सकते हैं, आप लोगों का ये आपका इंतजाम, कोई इंतजाम के बारे में?
तो मेरे लेवल पर कोई बात नहीं।
आपके लेवल पर इंतजाम का भी नहीं बताया?
अगर ये होता भाई इतना पता लग जाता है ये ऐसा हो जाएगा तो यात्रा नहीं रुक जाती। यात्रा को ये वर्तसी क्या होती तो ऊपर लेवल पे ऊपर तो बोले भाई अपने सेम थोड़ा ध्यान रखना।
You heard Nuh Sadar's SHO admitting that police at his level received no warnings beforehand. Scars of yet another devastating turmoil. A grim reminder of how intel oversight, inadequate law enforcement, social media manipulation can converge into a storm of violence. A report by Mohammad Hizbullah and Nitin Jain for India Today's Special Investigation Team.
So how do we combat this hate wave? Who let the hate genie out? Is society polarized like never before? The hate triggering politics of violence, with our special focus now on what's happened in Haryana. Joining me in the studio are Vinod Bansal, VHP's spokesperson. Professor Sangeet Kumar Ragi is Department of Political Science and author, RSS and Gandhi. I'm joined by Yogendra Yadav, co-founder Swaraj India, and someone who comes from that part of the country in Haryana. And Shashikant, former DGP Punjab, joins us. Let's get it clear first, and I want to get a clear answer from you, Mr. Bansal. आग किसने शुरू की? ये जो सवाल उठ रहा है, आप लोग यात्रा उठाते हैं, उस यात्रा में मोनू मानेसर, जिसको अक्यूज्ड किया गया है एक क्राइम में इन भिवानी इन हरियाणा, ही इज पुटिंग आउट वीडियोस कि आई एम गोइंग टू जॉइन द रैली, मैं उस रैली में पार्टिसिपेट होऊंगा, जो एक तरह से लोग कह रहे हैं भड़काओ, लोगों को भड़काने की ये साजिश थी। दूसरी तरफ से पत्थरबाजी हुई and you have seen what has happened. किसको जिम्मेदार ठहराएंगे? Why did you have to have someone like a Monu Manesar who's an accused being part of your यात्रा? क्यों उसके वीडियो चलते हैं इस तरह से?
राजदीप, सबसे पहले तो मुझे बड़ा दुख हो रहा है कि आज इंडिया टुडे के स्टूडियो में बैठ करके
जी
मुझे आपकी बात को काटना पड़ रहा है
जी
कि आप जिस तरह से झूठ परोसना चाह रहे हैं मोनू मानेसर के वीडियो के नाम पर, दैट इज़ वेरी शेमफुल। मैं बताऊं आपको, ये जिस वीडियो को आपने अभी चैनल पर दिखाया वो इस यात्रा का है ही नहीं। ये पहले जो यात्रा निकली थी तब का था कि मैं आ रहा हूँ। दिस इज टोटली फेक।
बिफोर द यात्रा उसने वीडियोस निकाले थे, वो कह रहा था कि मैं यात्रा में आ रहा हूं।
मेरी बात को कृपया पूरा होने दीजिए।
गो अहेड।
आई डू आल्सो हैव द राइट टू।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल यू आर।
मैं कह रहा हूं कि देखिए, मोनू मानेसर की जो वीडियो है, हाँ, इस वीडियो ने इंस्टिगेट जरूर किया। वो क्यों? क्योंकि 4 दिन पहले षड्यंत्र पूर्वक कुछ हिंदू द्रोही तत्वों ने, जिहादी तत्वों ने इस वीडियो को जो पुराना था उसको भी सर्कुलेट किया। हो सकता है कि आपके जैसे कुछ पत्रकार भी उसमें सहयोगी रहे हों, मैं नहीं कह सकता, आई एम नॉट ब्लेमिंग यू, बट जिस तरह से आपने अभी दिखाया है ना, इट इज़ वेरी शेमफुल। एक बात, मोनू मानेसर वाज नॉट सपोज टू जॉइन दिस यात्रा, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, नोबडी हैज स्टॉप हिम टू कम एट हियर। थर्ड वन इज दैट अगर वो आता है तो क्या बच्चों पर, महिलाओं पर आप आक्रमण कर दोगे? क्या इसका मतलब ये है कि अगर मोनू मानेसर किसी तीर्थ यात्रा में जा रहा है तो उसको जला दोगे, पूरे कुनबे को? हजारों की संख्या में लोग जो पिलग्रिमेज के जा रहे हैं, आप देखिए कि मेवात कोई, आप जो कह रहे हैं ना कि माइनॉरिटी डोमिनेटेड एरिया है, नो, मैं कहूँगा माइनॉरिटी डोमिनेटेड एरिया नहीं है, दे आर द मेजॉरिटी ऑफ दैट एरिया। दूसरी बात ये कि वो जो भूमि है कोई जिहादियों की भूमि नहीं है, वो भगवान कृष्ण की पवित्र भूमि है, कर्म भूमि है उनकी। और उस पवित्र भूमि को अगर आप जिहादी लैंड बनाना चाहते हैं तो दिस इज नोवेयर एक्सेप्टेबल टू द हिंदू कम्युनिटी और द कंट्री ऑफ द।
यू टेल मी नाउ, विनोद बंसल, लास्ट नाइट an under construction mosque in Gurugram was attacked and the imam was murdered. His assistant is grievous. Who did it? Who is coming? Are you saying all of this? Dekhiye, nobody is saying that violence has not taken place involving both communities. I'm very clear about that. But you cannot escape responsibility. Who are these people who are out on the street today burning property?
Are you saying that we have burnt the mosque?
I am asking you who's responsible.
So why are you asking me?
I am asking you.
Who am I to
Who has
respond?
killed an imam?
Why should I respond? Why should I respond?
You
I
have
am not
nothing to do
responding
with
that.
it.
Let the investigation done. But why are you escaping that route के भी जो हिंदुओं पर हमले हुए उसको तो आप कह रहे हैं कि मोनू मानेसर जिम्मेदार है, और जो मस्जिद पे कुछ हुआ तो आप मुझे जिम्मेदार समझ रहे हैं।
I am saying whoever is involved in hinsa has to be condemned, whether it is Hindu or Muslim. You accept that?
अरे क्यों नहीं भाई, इसमें कहने वाली क्या बात है?
तो इमाम को किसने मारा?
लेकिन पहले मुझे बताइए, आपके चैनल पर मोनू मानेसर का वीडियो क्यों चला? आपके चैनल पर आपने झूठ क्यों परोसा? आपने स्टार्टिंग यहां से क्यों चलाई? मैं कहता हूं दिस इज वेरी सिंपल।
You are saying that Monu Manesar may have incited people. I want to bring in Yogendra.
Nowhere.
He has not incited people.
Not at all. He was not the part of the yatra. He has not participated in the yatra. Neither he has circulated any video, nor he has made any video. और आपका चैनल दिखा रहा है, बताओ कमाल की बात है। No one channel in the country has shown this video, which you are depicting.
No, 1 minute. The video is in the public domain.
सर वीडियो को वेरीफाई करिए कि कब का है सर, कम से कम राजदीप सरदेसाई।
अच्छा, यू आर सेइंग दिस एन अर्लियर वीडियो, ये आज का वीडियो नहीं है? मे बी मैं
कह रहा हूं, लेकिन आज का नहीं है। ओके, ये गारंटी है कि आज का नहीं है।
ओके, Yogendra Yadav, the point Vinod Bansal is making is that a yatra was to be carried out. The VHP Bajrang Dal gave adequate notice of this yatra. When the yatra was wending its way through Nuh, cars were set ablaze, stone pelting took place, people in the yatra were targeted, and the minority community, which is the majority as is being pointed out, Mr. Bansal, in some parts of Haryana, was responsible for it. Do you accept that needs a further inquiry, that it cannot be seen as one-sided violence?
It is absolutely one-sided violence, sir.
I have spent the day today in Nuh and Barkali, the other place where some violence took place. I have spoken to the people whose shops were burnt. I have spoken to many people in that area. I also went and met the SP and the DC of Mewat. So I speak with some knowledge on this issue. First thing first, there's absolutely no doubt that stone pelting did take place, that home guards, 2 home guards were killed, and that nothing can absolve it. People responsible for that must be identified, must be punished. I also happen to agree with Bansalji on another thing. that Muslims are the majority community in Mewat. And therefore, if one thinks of a moral responsibility, which is an important thing apart from legal responsibility and the state's responsibility, the moral responsibility in Mewat is that of the majority Muslim community to assure Hindus that they are welcome, that they would be safe. And that's actually something that I said today. When I went there, I met many delegations and everyone agreed with me that yes, it is our moral responsibility and that Muslims will guard the temples and will give a sense of assurance to Hindus. Now coming specifically to the question of the videos. Rajdeep, number one, Mr. Bansal says these videos were old. The important thing, Mr. Bansal, is that on 25th, 26th, 27th of July, this particular video was being circulated. The important thing, Mr. Bansal, is that on 27th, there was a peace committee meeting in Nuh presided by the ASP responsible. And in that meeting, this video was shown. And she said, yes, it is very serious. Yes, we will take action. By then, not only this video, a counter video has also come from the side of some Muslim groups saying we will stop him from, we will respond to him. If all this was so fake, why did Haryana government not come out with a simple thing saying this is a fake video? Number two, would you deny, Mr. Bansal, that on the morning of 1st of August, that is to say yesterday morning, 31st, yesterday morning, before all the violence took place, 2 hours before that, Mr. Pittu Bajrangi gives a video which is even more inflammatory, which cannot possibly be old because he's saying we have started the yatra, ab hum yahan aayenge, hum chup ke nahi aate hain, hum tumhe bata ke aate hain. And he says things about women, which I cannot reproduce here on your channel. This is so inflammatory video. Who made that? Who should take the responsibility? More importantly, Rajdeep, not only were these videos available, not only was it pointed out in the peace committee, and now your investigation says that CID had also reported it, the same yatra 1 year ago had seen a similar incident of communal violence in which a mazar was broken. Fortunately, both the communities settled it. So the government has every reason to know that this is a sensitive yatra. Now, why was such a yatra allowed to take place? Number one.
This is the problem.
Why were so many people
This is problem actually.
Number three, why were they allowed to bring in arms? Please listen to me.
Yes,
I heard you.
please go ahead.
Why allowed to bring in arms, which India today has shown in its video, swords, lathis. And then when violence took place, why is it that the administration and police disappeared for 3 to 5 hours? Rajdeep, I must put it on your channel. A magistrate, Mrs. Jain, who works in Nuh, she was caught in this violence. The sessions judge requested the police to please rescue a magistrate who's caught in violence. The police failed to rescue a magistrate and my colleagues went and rescued her.
Oh.
In Barkali, where 3 houses were already burnt and more could be burnt. Who rescued it? Finally, not the police, not administration. Finally, the local sarpanch happens to be a Muslim. He gathered Muslims and Hindus from the village Nakina. He took them to Barkali Chowk, 500 people. They stopped violence. So it is not a case of communities fighting against each other. This is one politicized, provocative group versus gundas from the other side.
Therefore, before you say these are facts that Yogendra Yadav is putting, you may have a different story, but what is very clear.
Are you certifying his facts? He's
giving an instance of what he has heard.
Are you certifying this?
I am not certifying anything. I am saying Yogendra Yadav is giving us what he has heard on the ground. You are giving us your story. What is very clear in both the stories, and I will play those pictures, is the fact sticks and guns were used in a Shobha Yatra. Now, I don't know what sticks and guns, sticks and guns are doing and where the police is. Shashikant ji, what is very clear, and our sting has shown that this was known. Till a week ago, there were warnings issued. The local police is admitting that they had sent warnings to their top leadership that this could happen. And yet when it happens, the police are not there on the ground, they are outnumbered. This suggests either complicity or incompetence. Ya to incompetence hai, either the police there is incompetent or it is complicit. One of the two. How can you have a situation where people on both sides seem so heavily armed and are able to carry out this kind of violence?
Not both sides.
No, 1 minute. These are
making the fake story.
Sir, 1 minute. I'll let you
playing the fake story.
Sir, मैं आपके पास आऊँगा. Let Shashikant ji respond. Shashikant ji, sir, मैं आऊँगा आपके पास.
Gentlemen, look, I'm not a politician. I'll not go into that side. I'll say one thing, that in the police we have SOPs, standard operative procedures. And the situation in this particular area has been brewing up since February, when these two persons, Nasir and Junaid, were killed, but God knows by whom. I will not go into it, number one. And secondly, our Honorable Prime Minister has said a number of times that this kind of thing, vigilantism or whatever it is not permitted. First question is, why the local authorities fail to take adequate action in this regard, which has been desired even by the Prime Minister? Were they trying to think that the Prime Minister was wrong on this particular thing? And then, coming to this particular issue, for almost 2 weeks, the social media war was going on like crazy. No attempt was made to stop them. And the standard SOP about this procession is that they have to ensure that the route is absolutely clear, and if there is any possibility of any disturbance at any point of time, there has to be a slight detour, which was not taken. And now your videos out here is saying that the people, I don't know from which side, they were all heavily armed. I'll say that I don't know whether it's accomplices or whatever it was, but it's a very serious matter.
No, who do we blame? Who do we blame? The top police leadership of Haryana or the people on the ground? Somebody has to take responsibility. Let's be clear, Shashikant ji. If the police wants, no riot will take place. If the police really wanted to stop it, they would stop it. It seems people have impunity. An imam has been killed last night. Who is to be held responsible?
Yeah, look, sir, I have worked in IB for ages. I know the SOP. Written information is shared with the local authorities at the highest level, not at the level of the SHO or anything. It means that somebody higher up, he just tried to ignore these warnings and didn't take adequate action. No adequate police force was there. It was not ensured that the guys, either from this party or that party, that they were not armed. They didn't take cognizance of the fact that somebody was collecting stones, which were collected from the local quarries and all those things. I say it was a failure, a shameful failure all around. Thank you.
Okay, shameful failure all around. Presumably, therefore, before I come to you, Ragi ji, Bansal ji, let's be very clear. मैं ये वीडियो आपको दिखा रहा हूँ, उसमें लोग, people are with guns, people are with sticks. Is this the way a yatra goes? I am being very clear. Stones have been pelted. Mr. Yogendra Yadav is also accepting that the majority Muslim community in Mewat has a specific responsibility. But are you telling me that the people who I am showing you on the video now are all people who are not lumpen elements? What are they? Are they really yatris or are they out to provoke people with swords and sticks? ये मुझे बताइए।
अच्छा, आप ये कहना चाहते हैं कि जो तीर्थ यात्री वहाँ पर पांडवकालीन मंदिरों के दर्शन करने गए थे, साथ में अगर तलवार लेके गए, तो आप उसका मतलब हजारों की संख्या में।
कौन है ये लोग?
मेरी बात सुनिए ना।
नहीं, ये कौन है? ये मुझे बताइए, ये कौन है?
देखिए राजदीप,
नहीं, लोग गन्स के साथ, स्टिक्स के साथ, आई वांट टू नो हू दे आर।
योगेंद्र को इंटरव्यू नहीं किया था और मेरे को सुनने की आपके हिम्मत नहीं है। वेरी क्लियरली सेइंग, देखिए आपने जो पूछना मेरे से पूछ रहे हैं,
आप मुझे जवाब दीजिए।
टू द पॉइंट आंसर दूंगा मैं स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड बोलने के लिए जाना जाता हूं। विश्व हिंदू परिषद का प्रवक्ता हूं, कोई विनोद बंसल नहीं अकेला। ये मैं कहना चाहता हूं सीधा सीधा, क्या स्वॉर्ड रखना अपराध है वहां पर? पांडवकालीन मंदिरों के दर्शन करने मान लो कोई तीर्थयात्री जाता है, तो इसका मतलब क्या आप हजारों की संख्या में हमला कर दोगे? क्या हमला पूर्व नियोजित नहीं था? क्या पहाड़ियों के ऊपर चढ़ करके पेट्रोल बम चलाओगे? हमारे ऊपर गन ला दोगे? लड़कियों को, महिलाओं को मारोगे? और मैं कहता हूं ये योगेंद्र यादव जी और ये दूसरे पैनलिस्ट साहब के बैठे हैं, मुझे बड़ा ताज्जुब होता है, इतने इंटेलेक्चुअल होने के बावजूद भी इनके मुंह में से एक शब्द नहीं निकला उसको घटना को कंडेम करने के लिए कि इस्लामिक जिहादियों ने उनके ऊपर हमला किया। अरे हमले के बारे में बोला भाई, आपने स्वॉर्ड तो देख ली, आपने कोई राइफल तो देख ली, जो लाइसेंस राइफल थी वो बिना लाइसेंस के चला रहे थे, लगातार हमला कर रहे थे। न तो आपके मुंह में से एक जवान निकली सर, आई एम वेरी सॉरी टू से, और न ही आपके दोनों पैनलिस्ट ने बोला। लेकिन हिंदू मरा, और वहां पर जहां पर भगवान श्री कृष्ण की जन्मभूमि है
सर,
और आप कह रहे हैं कि हम हमारा स्वord ले जाने के वजह से मरा, हमारा एक वीडियो जारी करने से मरा। कमाल की बात कर रहे हो यार।
बंसल जी, हम स्टूडियो में हैं, क्या हुआ है? होमगार्ड्स मरे हैं, हिंदू यात्री मरे हैं और एक इमाम भी मरा है और उसका असिस्टेंट घायल है। ये हिंदू मुस्लिम छोड़िए, ये सब इंसान है, ये सब भारतीय है।
आपको हिंदू मुस्लिम याद आ गया?
Both communities have suffered.
नहीं, आपको कम
Both communities have suffered. But
दोनों सपोर्ट नहीं की सर।
योगेंद्र यादव
हिंदुओं पर हुआ, हमला जिहादियों ने किया।
अच्छा ठीक है।
और देखिए हमारी यात्रा पे किया, श्रावण के महीने में किया, और उसके बावजूद भी आप इसको इग्नोर कर रहे हैं।
योगेंद्र यादव, you want to respond and condemn it before I go to Mr. Yagi, because according to Mr. Bansal, he seems to suggest that you are only giving us one side of the story. Just quickly, if you want to correct, give a clarification.
Rajdeep, maybe Mr. Bansal should go home and watch the video of this very show again, because I began by saying, no matter what, those who have pelted stone, this is condemnable and they must be arrested, they must be punished. Why do I need to repeat it? I'm not, I mean, unlike Mr. Owaisi, I'm not sitting here as a representative of the Muslim community or this or that community. I'm sitting here as an Indian who's very concerned that my Indians, that two home guards who were on duty have been killed. Possibly one person from the yatra has been killed, that an imam has been killed, and that the fire is spreading in other places. I'm concerned about all of them. And I have met all kinds of victims. So why should I play any particular side? I'm just saying, as an Indian, we should be shocked and we should be very worried about the role of the state as well.
Can I just bring in Mr. Naiman? Now, Mr. Nagi, let's be very clear. You see, what is happening tragically is even in TV debates like that, and that's the danger, they get so polarized and bitter. Fact is, innocent people have lost their lives. People who have got caught in the crossfire. Why should an imam be killed, even if it, let us assume that yesterday the violence, as is being suggested, was started by Muslims in Nuh. That there was stone pelting. There's a reaction from the other side. Then we have people with sticks and guns, and now an imam is killed last night. When are we going to end this cycle of violence? Each one will blame the other. Sticks and guns are not what a civilized society is about. And where is the police is a question that will be asked. And Haryana is going to the polls next year. Ye bhi sawal uthega.
Rajdeep, I agree with all the panelists who are ready to condemn violence from any quarter. There is no place for violence in any civilized society, and nobody should approve of any kind of killing. Having said so, you know, the perception, unfortunately we are living in times of polarization. Let us have this reality. Secondly, when you are talking about how we should end it, then you are working on a prescriptive and normative framework. The matter of fact is that there is a polarization.
Who has created?
Just a moment. Yes, let me give you answer. There has been a perception, and this perception has percolated down to the masses in this country, that the spurious notion and the bogus practice of secularism of this country has been nothing but the continuity of Muslim appeasement. Everybody knows that what Mewat stands for. If you go and talk to the commoners, Mewat is known as a mini Pakistan. Let me again say, why does it happen that all Muslim dominated areas in this country have become sensitive areas? Let me ask this question to your viewers, that why only those police stations are sensitive which are located in the Muslim dominated areas? Why does it happen that such kind of pelting of a stone happens only in a Muslim majority area? Why does it happen that this kind of things happens not only here in India, but you go to all over the world? The sensitive, communally and religiously sensitive areas are those areas where the Muslims are either in majority or in a dominant position. Let me come back to this position. Let me again, don't expect, why this is happening. Yes, I'm telling you, because Hindus have been feeling somewhere down the line frustrated that this spurious and the bogus secularism, which is served before the public in a sweet voice, wrapped up in jargons of that, we condemn both kinds of, and that is not.
How does that justify? No, 1 minute. First of all,
I'm not
all Hindus may not feel the way you do. All Hindus do not carry guns and sticks in a yatra.
I'm not.
No, all Hindus also don't. So while there are Islamic radicals, there are Hindutva radicals, and they are both feeding on each other. That is the reality.
I'm strongly objecting.
That is the reality.
There is no Hindu radicalism.
There is no Hindutva right.
Bansalji, let me answer.
Let me finish. Ragi ji.
आप उनको पैरिटी में लाने के लिए हमें रेडिकल बता रहे हो, कमाल की बात कर रहे हो आप।
Ragi ji, complete.
Rajdeep, it is not correct to say that all Muslims are radicals. And in the same fashion, it would also be incorrect to say that all Hindus feel the same way.
Yes.
You are also a Hindu. There are multiple. You will find a difference. Why does there is not a dominant voice coming from the Muslim community against this radicalism? There is a dominant voice, and that I include even Yogendra Yadav, that when there is a Hindu fanaticism, all of us coming from, the reaction is from the Hindu community, and it is far more dominant than even sometimes coming from the Muslim community. But why this kind of, justification? I heard of
Owaisi on my show called
Kanhaiya
Lal's killing also a terror attack.
No. Same Asauddin Owaisi was with the people who were, singing slogans there in Hyderabad, Sartan se juda ho jaye, is naare ke saath khade the. Same Asauddin Owaisi. Tell me one single public address by Asauddin Owaisi when he doesn't talk about Muslims, and Muslims.
Okay. So the Bajrang Dal and Owaisi may be feeding on each other. They do not necessarily represent all Hindus and all Muslims in this country.
What I am saying that
you cannot equate.
What I am saying that the perception has percolated down to the minds of the Hindus. Okay. I am not saying all Hindus.
Okay.
But the predominant majority, that there has been a bogus secularism, and the fanatic secularism has done more harm to this country.
Yogendra Yadav, you want to respond to that what we are seeing in Mewat, in a major area which is dominated by the minority community, according to Mr. Ragi, is typical of a mindset, and that has had a reaction within the Hindu community. A yatra gets pelted by stones. There will be a reaction, and it's tragic. But that's the nature of polarization caused by what he calls...
You have given too much opportunity to Yogendra. When Kar Seva was taking place, when Godhra happens, it was Hindus who were accused that they went to the Kar Seva and it was provocative. Every time such incidents take place, and first the motive and the intent of Hindus are questioned. Why does it happen all the time?
Okay. Let Yogendra now respond to you. Let him respond.
अगर किसी के पास राइफल थी वो भी लाइसेंस की थी, आत्मरक्षा के लिए थी। आपको बताऊं राजदीप जी, आपने फोटो तो ले ली लेकिन उनसे पूछा नहीं। सारी एक भी कोई इलीगल नहीं थी और उनके पास कोई लीगल नहीं थी।
I don't believe yatras are meant for swords and guns, but Yogendra Yadav respond.
Not meant for, but yatra.
These are not pictures of yatris. But go ahead, Yogendra ji, respond to what you've heard so far.
I agree with Professor Ragi that it shows a mindset. It shows a mindset that even professors of universities get, use such...
Please, Yogendra Yadav, don't don't allow him to make a personal comment. I can also say so many things, Mr. Yogendra Yadav.
Ragi ji.
We have
Ragi ji, without being personal.
No.
Okay, without being personal,
stop him to make personal comments. I have seen him during the Kisan movement. We have seen how he was batting for the Congress party and how he was working with the lumpen elements and claiming in the public domain that he is secular, he is non-partisan. It is absurd, Mr. Yogendra Yadav.
Okay, you
stand exposed, Mr. Yogendra Yadav.
Mr. Ragi,
don't make personal comments.
Mr. Ragi, let's not make personal comments on both sides.
When I need,
let Yogendra Yadav
know your face, Mr. Yogendra Yadav.
No, these are not.
We know it very well.
Mr. Ragi,
know it very well.
Mr. Ragi, let Yogendra ji complete. Yes.
Professor Ragi is a friend.
Okay, 1 minute. Khatam karne dijiye. Yes.
But meanwhile, I just want to say, it does show a mindset that people on national television can come and defend swords being carried in any procession.
Nobody has defended, Mr. Nobody has defended.
No, I'm sorry to say.
1 minute. I haven't defended.
No. You may not have defended. But Bansal ji has in self-defense. He says it was done. No, let him complete. The viewer is not hearing. Let him complete. Then I'll complete.
Because we are looking at two expressions of the same mindset. One by Bansalji, one by Ragiji. And to my mind, that mindset is really the disease of this country, that we have done everything in the same frame. And I do feel that Aslam also suffers from the same mindset. And it is the same mindset, whether it is Owaisi or Mr. Bansal. Unfortunately, they are two sides of the same coin. And this country needs to be saved from both of them.
Hate speech.
Okay, so in a way, what we are seeing...
Can I respond to Mr. Yogendra
like
Yadav?
It or not, we are seeing competitive
we also
extremism.
find that Mr. Yogendra Yadav all the time, in a rap, sweet voice, always sides with the radical Islamist. I never have come out. No. Always.
By what
he's the
word
man.
No, by what
He's
word?
the man.
By what word?
He was not as critical to those people who were stones.
My point is, are we all accepting that radicalization within any community is dangerous? Yes or no?
Yes.
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 So therefore, the Bajrang Dal and the Bajrang Dal and a Muslim extremist group are dangerous.
Should not take out procession through the Muslim-dominated area.
The Bajrang Dal, which was responsible for violence during Gujarat, leading the cheerleaders, the Bajrang Dal, which has been involved in cow lynching today.
Bajrang Dal ko padhiye, Bajrang Dal ko samajhiye.
What is Bajrang Dal? What is Bajrang Dal?
Rajdeep studio में बैठकर Bajrang Dal को नहीं समझा जा सकता.
It's not a radical Hindu organization.
Not at all. What is radical? आप इस्लाम से तुलना कर रहे हो, जिहादियों से तुलना कर रहे हो.
Bajrang Dal people have been involved in the last 20 years in killings.
Bajrang Dal, Rajdeep, please. Does Bajrang Dal talk about that the entire world has to be Hinduized and with the use of the force? Does it talk about
Bajrang Dal has been involved in instances of violence, radical Islamists have
not at all. He doesn't. Yogendra has never.
Absolutely not. Okay. I'm going to say this as a final word. I believe all right-thinking citizens must distance themselves from all forms of radicalization and extremism. The polarization which was spoken about is being built because one form of extremism is feeding on the other. Who dies in the process? Innocent Indians. And questions must be asked of the police and the state. Because if the state wants, and I was told this by my late grandfather who was a police officer, no violence and no major riot takes place without the incompetence or complicity of the police administration or both. So the Haryana government will have to answer to those questions. Incompetence, complicity or both.
So killing of Hindus in Bengal have taken place in complicit with the political establishment.
The failure of the state.
No. Why don't you say that Mamata Banerjee is complicit to that? Are you going to make this a statement?
Either incompetence.
Are you going to make this a
statement? I have said it. Whether any part of the country, incompetence, complicity of the state is responsible for instances of violence involving killings of this kind. But no riot takes place. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching, but I'm going to leave you with an image that perhaps also tells you ye kaisa politics is desh mein hai. Political rivals, Prime Minister Modi and NCP Chief Sharad Pawar sharing a stage in Pune. Now, the NCP protested against it even though Mr. Pawar was the chief guest. The Congress protested against it even though congressmen were the trustees who had organized it. That image is the image of the day. Pawar and Modi. Few weeks ago, Mr. Modi was being accused of breaking the NCP. Today, there, Sushil Kumar Shinde, former Congress Chief Minister, Sharad Pawar sharing a platform. This too is India. Ye hai Rajniti. Thanks for watching as Mr. Modi was conferred with the 2023 Lokmanya Tilak Award. Good night. Goodbye. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Co-powered by the new Kia Seltos, the badass reborn. Extra safe Polycab green wire.
Day after communal clash at Delhi's doorstep. Fresh attacks explode in Gurugram. Shops attacked, tension grips smart city. First-hand reports tell the full story. India Today investigation nails lapses. The villains of Haryana revealed. That is a big focus on India First.
Tension continues to grip the big suburban area of Mewat outside India's national capital of Delhi. These are pictures from yesterday and today, but the story is not over. There have been sporadic counter-attacks between the communities that have taken place in the smart city, the so-called smart city of Gurugram till late this evening as well. Targeted attacks and an air of tension continues to consume this, the largest of Delhi's suburbs. Here on India First, we're going to take you live to the epicenter of where things are the most tense to get you an up-close, first-hand, uncompromising and factual view of where things are at on Delhi's doorstep. But before that, we've got some breaking news coming in. Well, things are so tense in Gurugram and the surrounding areas of the national capital. The Haryana government's latest action now is a crackdown on the sale of loose fuel from petrol pumps. Loose fuel sale has been prohibited in Gurugram at this point of time until further notice. I want to go across straight now to Anmol Bali, who's live from Nuh in Haryana, which is the epicenter of the violence and where all of this violence actually started and then spread to Gurugram. Anmol, you've been doing an amazing, fearless job on the ground right from the start when the procession took place, during the violence, and now you're tracking it overnight there as well. The latest action, Anmol, from the Haryana government now is on the crackdown on the sale of loose fuel, because there is a fear that fuel will be used to set shops and vehicles ablaze.
As you can see, Shivarur, I'm in Nuh, the main epicenter where the yesterday violence took place. This is around 9 in the night, but the situation here looks like that it is 2 to 3 a.m. of the night. As you have informed earlier that the sale of loose sale is prohibited by the government. As I was there on the epicenter when the incident took place, I was live on the television. I shot there were swords in the hand, there were axes in the hand of the people. There were also seen there were guns and many air shots took place. But I have also seen people having petrol bombs in their hand. It was around 3 to 5. I was trapped in a shop on Medical Chowk. I was scared. My cameraman was scared. The mob was coming from one side and from the other side. They were pelting stone, and then the mob started burning the cars, and they were having petrol bombs, bottles, beer bottles filled up of petrols in their hand. So that was the situation yesterday. And now after 24 hours, when the calm has now prevailed in the town, the police has been deployed in the whole Nuh, in Gurugram and the adjoining city. And just now, this new order came from the Haryana government where they have prohibited the sale of open petrol or diesel or fuel to the general public.
Okay, that's a safety measure. Believe me when I say that India Today's coverage is going to hinge itself on the enormous number of lapses at the hands of the Haryana government. Incredible intelligence failure, bordering perhaps even on complicity, incompetence, negligence, dereliction of duty. All of these words can be used to describe how this communal flashpoint was allowed to happen. Shreya Chatterjee is also with me. She's been reporting from Gurugram as well. Shreya, clearly this horror is not over, as we can see from the the eruption of more attacks that took place from this afternoon in Gurugram, and that's the reason why parts of Gurugram, not all of Gurugram, but parts of Gurugram continue to be tense.
Well, absolutely. So, Shiv, the areas of Sector 57, 66 and 65, these are the places from where sporadic violence has been reported in Gurugram. Unfortunately, there is a time when the Haryana police has suggested that they've got adequate forces also from other districts. These incidents are still being reported. We only hope that by tomorrow such incidents do not get reported. But time and again, what has actually been pointed out is the failure on the part of Haryana police to contain the violence when it started in Nuh, despite having intelligence of a possible communal clash. And now, when the situation has already taken place, they also failed in actually containing the sporadic violence that continued as an aftermath of the Nuh violence. Because even till today evening, we saw shops being gutted down in Gurugram. This is a spillover of the Mewat violence that we continue to see till today evening.
Okay, Shreya and Anmol, continue to stay with me because the story is clearly not over, and that's the reason why you see our reporters still out in the field, because at any moment things can flare up once again. Now, before I go back to our reporters, and in a moment I'm also going to be showing you an absolutely heartbreaking video of the effects of communal tension on those who have nothing to do with the crossfire between two motivated groups. I'm going to show you that video that's already going viral. Shreya Chatterjee shot it. We're going to show it to you in just a couple of minutes. But before that, I want to show you how India Today, first off the mark, has already begun investigating the build-up to this entire flashpoint in Gurugram and Nuh. Tension simmers in Haryana a day after the communal clashes. The trigger was a Shobha Yatra carried out by the VHP Bajrang Dal through Nuh, a minority-dominated district. How did this situation spiral out of control? Where was the police? India Today unmasks the villains of Haryana because it was their job to know that something like this could have happened and prevented it. Take a look at this India Today special investigation.
A battleground of flames. Just a short drive from the national capital. Pitched battles between two communities rocked Nuh in Haryana's Mewat region on Monday, reaching even the tech hub of Gurugram. An India Today investigation has delved into the causes behind this destructive frenzy. Our probe reveals how forewarnings about possible communal flare-ups were ignored. This is Vishwajit, the district inspector of the CID. Vishwajit is responsible for intelligence gathering across Nuh. When our investigative team met him in his office, Vishwajit claimed to have formally warned the local authorities about potential trouble during the VHP Yatra. His department's specific warnings about the VHP's annual 130 kilometers Braj Mandal Yatra passing through Muslim-dominated Nuh in the present circumstances ignored.
कल वाले जो रैली को लेकर कोई स्पेसिफिक इनपुट था आप लोगों की तरफ से?
स्पेसिफिक इनपुट था भाई ये लोग यात्रा निकालेंगे तो इनका कौन होगा कहीं न कहीं।
अच्छा, ये था।
अगर ये निकलेंगे गांव के बीच से एक तलवार लहराएंगे, घोषणा लहराएंगे।
तो क्या ये पहले से इनपुट आप लोगों ने नहीं दिया?
सरकार को सब दे चुके।
कितने दिन?
आपको पता ही टाइम हफ्ता 10 दिन पहले ही
तो हफ्ता 10 दिन पहले दे दिया।
You heard that Nuh's CID gave its assessment of potential trouble during the VHP Yatra planned at Nuh on Monday. The district's CID inspector claimed the intel inputs he shared were not acted upon by law enforcement. a notorious cow vigilante linked to the Bajrang Dal, Monu Manesar, had earlier issued video messages about him participating in the yatra. Police did not let him attend the event on Monday. In March, India Today exposed widespread extortion rackets of Gaurakshaks in Haryana. According to Nuh's CID chief, the activities of Gaurakshak squads had already infuriated residents of Nuh. Monu Manesar, the notorious cow vigilante, was named in the FIR in connection with the killing of two men, Junaid and Nasir, from Rajasthan's Bharatpur. Their bodies found charred in a burnt vehicle in Haryana's Bhiwani district on Feb 16th. Nuh's CID chief shared his assessment that the pent-up anger over the killings could burst forth. And then came a rumor about Monu Manesar's presence, which acted as a trigger.
तो वहाँ ब्रीफ करने में उनको हैंडल करने में जो शुरुआती दौर में 60-70 जो भी हुए वो कहीं न कहीं अधिकारियों ने सोचा भाई चलो ये मान जाएंगे खदेड़ देंगे उसमें ये नॉर्मल ये ले लिया उनको। हाँ फिर मोनू मानेसर नहीं आया समझा देंगे यार वो आ भी नहीं रहा था लेकिन वो मानने वाले कहाँ थे वो मोटरसाइकिल रोड फोन कर दिए भाई किसी ने अफवाह फैला दी वो आ लिया मंदिर पर और यात्रा चलने वाली है। अच्छा तो हम यात्रा को रोकेंगे उनका मकसद उस रास्ते को रोक करना था। अच्छा जो मोड़ है जिससे जानी थी।
कितने टाइम लगा था बिल्डअप होने में चीज़ों को मतलब कल
बिल्कुल लग गया था 1 घंटे का तो मोटरसाइकिल रोड फोन कर दिए
कौन
ये जो यहाँ के लोकल है ना अच्छा और वो बच्चे लगभग 17 साल से 21-22 साल की एज ग्रुप के थे। अच्छा उनमें बड़ा मैच्योर था नहीं।
Rioters rammed a bus into a cyber police station in Nuh, now an infamous hub of cyber crime in the country. The district's intelligence chief reckons that the ongoing crackdown on cyber criminals, in addition to activities of the cow vigilantes, had already fueled passions in Nuh.
गाटने का काम जरूरत था वो हरियाणा के लोगों ने किया गोरक्षों ने किया। दूसरा एक साइबर फ्रॉड का बड़ा सर्च अभियान चला था उसमें काफ़ी लोग ये दिक्कत आ रही है गो कृषि पर प्रतिबंध में से दुखी हैं। अच्छा तो हमारे घरों पर करीब पहले खुले चलते थे कई चीज़ों से हो जाते तो ये सोचते कि इसी बात को हम करके ऐसा करें कि आवागमन बंद कर दें दबाव बढ़ जाए।
Kishan Kumar, the SHO of the police station under whose jurisdiction the unrest unfolded. When probed, he claimed he received no intel from his superiors about any potential trouble from the yatra.
मतलब 100 भी पूरे नहीं थे और वो दौर इतना बड़ा प्रोसेशन निकल रहा है इतना बड़ा इंतजाम होना चाहिए था। CID वालों ने कोई पेपर चिट्ठी पत्री तो भेजी होगी आप लोग? मेरे पास कोई आपके पास पत्र चिट्ठी नहीं है। कोई ये भी तो आया होगा कि भाई इतने लोग इकट्ठे हो सकते हैं आप लोगों का ये आपका इंतज़ाम कोई इंतज़ाम के बारे में मेरे लेवल पर कोई बात नहीं आपके लेवल पर इंतज़ाम का भी नहीं बताया।
अगर ये होता भाई इतना पता लग जाता है ये ऐसा हो जाएगा तो यात्रा नहीं रुक जाती यात्रा पूरी इमरजेंसी थी क्या वो होती थी होती तो ऊपर लेवल पे ऊपर तो बोले भाई अपने सेम थोड़ा ध्यान रखना वो कोई सब।
You heard Nuh Sadar's SHO admitting that police at his level received no warnings beforehand. In a separate conversation with our investigative team, Kishan Kumar explained how the available force was spread too thin across the yatra route.
लेकिन कल पुलिस बंदोबस्त इतनी कम थी
ऐसा पुलिस कमी थी जो फोर्स थी वो सारी लगी हुई थी। इन्हें पहले जो हरियाणा था बंगाल और जाना था उन्होंने से सीधा थे खजाना दिखा वापस जाना था नवी ना पूरा तो कवर करना था लंबाई पड़ गई
यात्रा हुई?
यात्रा लंबी पड़ेगी, फोर्स तो वही थी, वो एक्स्ट्रा फोर्स थे नहीं, वो फोर्स 10 पॉइंट बनने 50 पॉइंट बन